Hello again, and welcome back to week 31 of year 4 of the Religious Education Initiative. This is day 2. We're going to finish this third sermon of St. Theophan the Recluse from the Path of Prayer today. So last time, St. Theophan outlined for us the way in which the faithful disciplines of spoken prayer and mental prayer lead to the gift of this genuine and unceasing prayer. In particular, he expressed the paradox that this gift is something which requires great labor as we warm our soul to the task of prayer and the desire for communion with God, and yet it is not a wage that is earned, it is a gift of God. This time, he will conclude this sermon with words of encouragement. He says, When you begin to possess yourself in this way, possessing yourself in your heart as the body possesses itself when it is surrounded on all sides by warmth, or when you begin to conduct yourself as people do in the presence of a great and important personage, with fear and attention, unwilling to offend in anything, even when they have permission to walk and act freely, then you will begin in your soul the same reaction to the Lord that a bride may have toward a beloved bridegroom. And then you will know that the precious guest of our souls is very near the door, so that he will come to you and dwell within you. I think that these few instructions are enough to guide those who search energetically. But really, all this is said only to let those of you who labor in prayer know what is the final end of your prayer. Otherwise, having labored little and achieved little, you may think you have achieved all that is possible, and then you may relax and weaken in your efforts. This will halt your further ascent on the steps of prayer. On the road, there are signposts to let travelers know how far they have come and how far they have still to go. In the same way, in our spiritual life, there are similar signs which mark out the steps to perfection. These are provided in order that, knowing where they started, those who are eager for perfection should know how far they have still to go. Then they will not halt that way. I had a typo. Then they will not stop their way and deny themselves the fruit of their work, fruits which, if they would only take 1 or 2 more turnings, are perhaps waiting only just round the corner. Now I will close my sermon with an ardent prayer, asking that the Lord may give you wisdom in everything, and that you may all reach the perfection of man according to the measure of your age in Christ. Okay, so apart from that typo, I think we understand what he's saying. The point of this, this sermon is kind of different, because in the other two, he's describing very clearly how to go about doing these things, how to engage in spoken prayer with attention, with feeling, with discipline, and how to engage in mental prayer, that we pause before our spoken prayer and after, that we remember the things of God, that we offer every action, every word to the Lord, consciously and intentionally. And he basically, in this third sermon, he simply says, do those things that I already said, but he adds to that, and in the course of doing these things, you will see your heart and your life begin to change. And when you see these things changing, don't stop. Don't think that you've reached the end, because all of this is only your struggle to open the door, to raise your hands and your heart and your life to the Lord and await his coming. And when he comes to you, when he perfects your work, this is what you have been striving for. And I think here he shows himself to be a discerning and an experienced spiritual father, both because he has walked this path of prayer himself and can bear witness from it his own experience that there is an end to this beyond simply a tedious obedience to discipline. Fine, I'll say my prayers, holy God, right? That there's more to this than just legalism. And second, he's seen spiritual children grow weary and give up and think, this is a whole lot of work for not a lot of recompense. Now, of course, a life of faithful prayer, even if we don't attain to these things, is still better than wallowing in sin. It's less destructive to our souls, except that perhaps struggling in prayer and then giving up means we go back to wallowing in sin, and that's even worse. So he's saying you are on a path. You're climbing a mountain. And yes, it's hard. And yes, it requires attention and discipline. But there is a peak. There is a point that you are reaching for. Don't abandon it and let go and fall down the mountain when you might only be a few steps away. But it doesn't matter whether you're a few steps away or not. We are climbing. We are going somewhere. We're not just spinning our wheels. So that, I think, is the point. He's giving a signpost. He's giving progress markers for us to attend to for the sake of our encouragement and our endurance. So with that, God bless you all. We'll see you shortly for the day 3 reading.